Have you ever looked out into the absolute silence of a completely dark, cloudless night and felt an inexplicable sense that the vast cosmos was somehow looking back at you? We have all experienced that quiet, profound moment of standing under an ancient canopy of stars, feeling incredibly small, yet intimately connected to the infinite darkness above. You might have wondered if the universe is just a cold, mechanical clockwork of dead rocks and burning gas, or if there is something more, a hidden layer of meaning woven into the very fabric of existence. For centuries, humanity has debated the existence of a grand designer, a fundamental consciousness, or what many call God. Philosophers have argued, theologians have prayed, and scientists have measured. But what if I told you that the most rigorous, mathematically precise, and heavily tested branch of modern physics has recently stumbled upon a revelation so mind-blowing that it forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the nature of reality and consciousness? This is not a dramatic exaggeration or a mystical fairy tale. This is the honest, rigorous truth about quantum mechanics, a field of science that studies the incredibly tiny building blocks of our universe and how its latest discoveries are blurring the line between objective reality and the profound concept of a universal mind. Before we embark on this gentle journey into the deepest mysteries of the quantum realm, I want to take a brief moment to introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion on this quiet exploration of the cosmos and its endless wonders. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the beautiful minds who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace and wonder in these contemplative journeys through the universe, please consider gently tapping that subscribe button. It helps us immensely and ensures that we can continue to travel together through the vast, uncharted territories of scientific discovery, uncovering the hidden truths of our existence. Let us return to that starry night sky. When you look up at a distant star, perhaps one that sits millions of light years away, you are seeing ancient light. You are seeing photons that have traveled across the unimaginable emptiness of space for eons, just to end their monumental journey by striking the retina of your eye. For most of our scientific history, since the days of Isaac Newton, we believed that those photons, those particles of light, were flying through space, regardless of whether anyone was there to see them. We believed in a universe that existed objectively, independently, and solidly, with or without an observer. A universe that was like a giant stage where the play of cosmic history unfolded, even if the theater was completely empty. But in the early 20th century, a profound shift occurred. Scientists began to develop quantum theory to explain the behavior of atoms and subatomic particles, things that are millions of times smaller than a single grain of sand. And what they found was not a solid, predictable world, but a fuzzy, shimmering realm of probabilities. A world that seemed to behave in ways that defied all human logic and common sense. The cornerstone of this mind-bending revelation is an elegant yet deeply unsettling demonstration known as the double-slit experiment. It is a quiet, simple experiment that you could almost build on your kitchen table. Yet its implications are so vast that they echo through the halls of physics to this very day. Imagine shooting tiny particles, perhaps individual electrons or photons of light, at a barrier that has two narrow, parallel slits cut into it. Behind this barrier is a screen that records exactly where each particle hits. If you shoot these particles one by one, you would naturally expect them to travel through either the left slit or the right slit, and eventually form two distinct bands on the screen behind them, just like firing paintballs through a pair of open doors. But that is not what happens. Instead, over time, as thousands of individual particles are fired one by one, a beautiful alternating pattern of multiple stripes emerges on the back screen. This is known as an interference pattern. It is the exact pattern that waves make when they crash into each other, like ripples crossing on the surface of a quiet pond. But remember, we are firing single particles, one at a time. How can a single particle interfere with itself? The mathematics of quantum mechanics tells us something almost impossible to believe. It tells us that, while the particle is traveling, it is not a solid object at all. It is a wave of pure probability. It exists in a state of superposition, meaning it travels through both slits at the exact same time, exploring every possible path through the universe simultaneously. It is everywhere and nowhere, a ghostly whisper of potential, until the very moment it hits the screen. But here is where the story takes a turn into the truly extraordinary, where the rigid walls of classical physics begin to crumble and the whisper of something resembling a universal consciousness begins to echo. Scientists, understandably baffled by this impossible behavior, decided to place tiny detectors right at the slits. They wanted to peek at the particle. They wanted to know for certain which slit the particle was actually passing through. They set up their gentle, passive instruments, careful not to disturb the particle, and they watched. And the moment they watched, the moment they added an observer to the system, the universe changed its behavior entirely. The beautiful, complex wave pattern on the back screen completely vanished. Suddenly, the particles began acting exactly like solid little bullets, forming only two basic bands directly behind the slits. By simply observing the particle, by asking the universe for a definite piece of information, the wave of infinite possibilities collapsed into a single, defined reality. The particle seemed to know it was being watched. Let that ancient, profound mystery sink in for a moment. In the quantum realm, the act of observation is not a passive event. Looking is an act of creation. The observer and the observed are inextricably linked in a cosmic dance, so deeply intertwined that one cannot exist without the other. This phenomenon, known as the observer effect, shook the foundations of science. It implies that before a conscious observer steps in to measure or look, the universe is just a fuzzy cloud of mathematical probabilities. It is not real in the way we understand reality. It is the act of looking, the act of conscious observation, that forces the universe to make a choice, to collapse from a realm of infinite potential into a concrete physical manifestation. The legendary physicist John Archibald Wheeler, a brilliant mind who worked alongside Albert Einstein, spent decades pondering this breathtaking paradox. He eventually proposed what he called the participatory universe. Wheeler suggested that we are not just tiny, insignificant spectators sitting in the bleachers of a cold, indifferent cosmos. Instead, we are active, essential participants in the ongoing creation of reality itself. He famously drew an illustration of the universe as a giant letter U, with an eye at one end, looking back at its own beginning. According to this view, the universe requires conscious observers in order to fully realize itself, to bring its own existence out of the quantum fog and into the light of definite reality. But this raises an even deeper, more staggering question. If the existence of reality depends on an observer to collapse the quantum wave function, then how did the universe exist before we were here? The cosmos is nearly 14 billion years old. Our gentle Earth formed about 4,500,000,000 years ago, and conscious human beings have only been looking at the night sky for a tiny fraction of a cosmic instant. Who or what was observing the universe into existence during all those billions of years of silent, ancient history? Who collapsed the wave function of the early cosmos, allowing galaxies to form, stars to ignite, and planets to take shape in the vast emptiness of space? This is where quantum mechanics touches the very edge of theology and philosophy, pointing toward a concept that has sent shivers down the spines of the greatest thinkers in history. If a conscious observer is fundamentally required for reality to exist, and if reality existed long before biological life evolved, then logic gently suggests the presence of a primordial universal observer, a vast infinite consciousness that has been watching the cosmic drama unfold since the very beginning of time, an ever-present awareness that holds the quantum probabilities in a state of definite reality simply by observing them. Some physicists refer to this as a universal entanglement, a fundamental field of information. Others might look at this profound scientific necessity and see the fingerprints of what spiritual traditions have long called God. Not a human-like figure sitting on a cloud, but an infinite, pervasive consciousness that forms the very foundation of existence itself. A quiet, gentle awareness that permeates every atom, every star, and every empty void in the cosmos. In this light, the universe is not a giant machine. It is more like a great thought. The renowned physicist Sir James Jeans once beautifully noted that the universe begins to look more like a great thought than like a great machine, suggesting that mind is no longer an accidental intruder into the realm of matter, but rather the creator and governor of the realm of matter. Quantum mechanics, with its rigorous mathematics and undeniable experimental proof, seems to be hinting that consciousness is not a strange byproduct of biological evolution, but a fundamental property of the cosmos, as basic and necessary as gravity or light. When you stand under the stars and feel that sense of awe, that deep, intuitive connection to the vastness above, you might not just be a biological machine reacting to photons. You might be a tiny, localized spark of that original universal consciousness, looking out at a universe that you yourself are helping to create. You are the universe experiencing itself, observing itself into being in real time. We are made of star stuff, as Carl Sagan so eloquently taught us. The atoms in our bodies were forged in the fiery cores of ancient, dying suns. But perhaps we are also made of something even more fundamental. Perhaps we are made of the very awareness that gives reality its shape. As we dive deeper into this mystery, we must tread carefully, with humility and a deep respect for the unknown. Science does not claim to have proven the existence of God, and quantum physics is not a religion. It is a mathematical framework that describes nature with astonishing accuracy. Yet, the truths it uncovers are so deeply counterintuitive, so profoundly alien to our everyday experience, that they force us to ask questions that science alone may never fully answer. The mystery remains, vast and infinite, inviting us to keep looking, keep questioning, and keep wondering. This is only the beginning of our exploration into the quantum nature of existence. In the spaces between the atoms, in the silent, invisible fields that govern the dance of subatomic particles, there are secrets waiting to be uncovered, secrets that might finally explain the connection between the physical world we can touch and the conscious minds we use to perceive it. To understand this further, we must leave the familiar realm of human experience and venture into the strange, probabilistic landscapes where the very concept of past and future begin to dissolve into a timeless, infinite present. Every particle of light that strikes your eye tonight carries within it a profound story about observation and reality. The simple act of looking at the moon, according to quantum mechanics, guarantees its solid presence in the night sky. We must ask ourselves if this means the universe is a collaborative masterpiece, painted stroke by every conscious mind that has ever lived, loved, and gazed into the darkness. As we prepare to turn the page and continue our descent into this beautiful quantum labyrinth, let us carry with us a sense of profound peace. The universe is not a cold, indifferent void waiting to swallow us up. It is a warm, interactive canvas that responds to our very presence. You belong here, not as an accident, but as a necessary observer in the grand cosmic design. The silence of the night is not empty. It is brimming with potential, waiting for you to simply open your eyes and bring it into being. Have you ever stood by the edge of a quiet ocean, listening to the gentle rhythm of the waves, and felt an overwhelming sense of distance? We look out across the vast waters or up into the endless night sky, and our human minds naturally divide the world into separate things. There is you standing on the shore, and there is the moon hanging silently hundreds of thousands of miles away. We are conditioned by our everyday experience to believe that space is a great divider, a vast ocean of emptiness that keeps objects fundamentally apart. If you want to affect something over there, you must physically cross the immense distance from here. This is the bedrock of classical physics, the world of falling apples and orbiting planets that Isaac Newton described so beautifully. But as we continue our journey into the microscopic heart of reality, we find that the quantum universe completely shatters this illusion of separation. It reveals a cosmos so intimately bound together that the very concept of physical distance begins to feel like a mirage. Before we delve into the mystery of how the universe is secretly holding hands with itself across infinite distances, I want to take a brief moment to welcome you back. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet guide through the breathtaking wonders of the cosmos. As we explore these profound questions together, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the curious souls who watch these videos have not yet joined our growing family. If you are finding a sense of peace and wonder in these gentle explorations, please consider subscribing to the channel. It is a small gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to continue crafting these meditative journeys into the deepest secrets of existence. Now, let us return to the shoreline of the quantum sea, where the ordinary rules of space and time simply wash away into the cosmic tide. In the 1930s, Albert Einstein, along with his brilliant colleagues Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, published a scientific paper that was meant to prove that quantum mechanics was fundamentally incomplete. They had discovered a mathematical consequence of the theory that was so bizarre, so completely opposed to common sense and human intuition, that Einstein famously dismissed it as spooky action at a distance. This mind-bending phenomenon is what we now call quantum entanglement. Imagine two tiny subatomic particles, perhaps two delicate photons of light, that are created together in a single energetic event. Because they are born from the exact same source, they share a fundamental, unbreakable connection. Their quantum states are linked forever. In the precise language of physics, their properties are perfectly correlated. If one particle is spinning upward, the other must automatically be spinning downward to maintain balance. Now, imagine taking these two entangled particles and gently separating them. You keep one here on our beautiful, fragile Earth, and you send the other one on a long, quiet journey across the cosmos, perhaps to a terrestrial planet orbiting Alpha Centauri, over 4 light years away in the deep silence of space. According to the strict, familiar rules of classical physics, these two particles are now completely independent entities. They are separated by trillions of miles of silent, empty space. Nothing in the known universe can travel faster than the speed of light. Not even a signal, not even the faintest whisper of information. Yet, quantum mechanics tells us something entirely different, something that challenges the very foundation of how we perceive reality. If you measure the particle here on Earth and find that its quantum spin is pointing up, the wave function of both particles collapses instantly. In that exact, indivisible fraction of a second, with absolutely zero time delay, the particle on Alpha Centauri will simultaneously snap into a state of spinning down. It does not matter if the distance between them is a few inches across a laboratory table or 10 billion light years across the observable universe. The connection is absolute, and the communication, if you can even call it that, is strictly instantaneous. They behave not as two separate objects separated by vast distances, but as a single, unified entity that somehow exists in two places at once. The universe, it seems, ignores the vast gulfs of space when it comes to entangled particles. For decades, cautious scientists debated whether this was just a mathematical quirk, a ghost in the equations. But in the late 20th century, and continuing into the 21st, brilliant physicists conducted incredibly precise experiments to test this spooky action. They fired entangled photons away from each other in high-tech laboratories, down lengthy optical fibers, and even beamed them up to advanced satellites orbiting high above the Earth. In every single rigorous test, the results were completely undeniable. Entanglement is a profound reality. The universe truly is connected in a way that defies all limits of space and time. When we measure one particle, its partner instantly knows, reacting infinitely faster than a beam of light could ever travel. This profound discovery earned scientists the Nobel Prize in Physics, proving beyond any shadow of a doubt that the fabric of reality is far more mysterious and beautifully intertwined than we ever dared to imagine. But what does this mean for our understanding of the cosmos? And more importantly, what does it mean for that ancient question about a fundamental consciousness, a universal mind, or God? To grasp the monumental implications of quantum entanglement, we must travel back in time to the very beginning of everything. Almost 14 billion years ago, all the matter, all the energy, all the space, and all the time in our entire universe was compressed into an infinitely dense, unimaginably hot point, a primordial singularity. In that incomprehensible state, before the Big Bang stretched the cosmos into the vast, majestic expanse we see today, everything was touching everything else. Every single particle that would eventually make up the distant galaxies, the glowing nebulas, the rocky planets, and the biological cells of your own body was compressed into the exact same microscopic space. Therefore, according to the inescapable laws of quantum mechanics, everything in the universe was born entangled. When scientists at the European Space Agency launched the Planck Space Observatory to map the cosmic microwave background, they were essentially taking a beautiful, ancient baby picture of the universe. They captured the primordial light left over from the Big Bang, mapping the tiny temperature fluctuations in the deep silence of space. These minute differences, spread across the infinite canvas of the cosmos, are the direct result of quantum fluctuations that occurred when the universe was smaller than a single atom. The data from these magnificent space missions does not just show us a vast expanding void. It mathematically reveals a cosmos that was entirely entangled at the moment of its birth. As the universe expanded, spreading out over billions of light years, the particles separated. They cooled, formed atoms, gathered into immense clouds of gas, and ignited into blazing stars. But that original, fundamental quantum connection never truly vanished. The illusion of separation was created by the physical expansion of space, but underneath that physical distance, the underlying reality remains a unified, breathing whole. You are not just sitting in a room, isolated from the rest of creation. The atoms in your fingertips, the iron pumping through your blood, and the calcium forming your bones are fundamentally entangled with the ancient light of distant quasars, with the swirling cosmic dust of the Andromeda galaxy, and with the quiet, frozen ice hiding on the moons of Jupiter. You are a seamless, essential thread woven deeply into the infinite tapestry of the cosmos. This scientific revelation sounds remarkably like the deeply held wisdom of almost every major spiritual tradition in human history. For millennia, contemplative mystics, wise sages, and deep philosophers have spoken of an underlying unity, a single divine source from which all things flow, and to which all things remain eternally connected. They have described a God that is not a distant, separate monarch ruling from afar, but an omnipresent presence, a unified field of consciousness that softly permeates every inch of existence. When spiritual teachers say that separation is an illusion and that we are all fundamentally one, they are speaking a poetic language that quantum physics is now writing in rigorous, undeniable mathematical equations. The spooky action at a distance is perhaps the scientific signature of divine omnipresence. It suggests that the universe is not a random collection of disconnected dead parts, but a single, living, breathing organism of unimaginable scale. Let us pause for a moment to let that beautiful, staggering thought settle into your mind. Breathe in the quiet air around you and realize that you are physically and energetically connected to the farthest edges of the unknown universe. When you look up at the stars, you're not just a lonely observer looking at a distant, separate object. Because of this ancient, primordial entanglement, you are the universe actively looking at itself. The celebrated physicist David Bohm, who spent his entire life wrestling with these deep questions, proposed that the reality we see, the separate objects, the vast distances, the ticking of time, is just an explicit, unfolded order. But beneath it lies an implicate order, a deeper hidden reality, where everything is seamlessly connected in an unbroken whole. In Bohm's visionary view, asking how one entangled particle communicates with another is like watching a fish in an aquarium through two different cameras and wondering why the image on screen one instantly reacts to the image on screen two. They are not communicating. They are simply two different perspectives of the exact same underlying reality. If the universe is indeed an unbroken whole, a single entangled web of pure energy and cosmic information, then consciousness cannot be something that simply happened by random accident in an isolated corner of space. It must be a foundational property of the whole, just as a single drop of water contains the chemical essence of the entire ocean. Perhaps your individual consciousness is a localized, beautiful focal point of a vast universal mind. This brings us gently back to the great mystery of the observer effect we discussed earlier. If observation collapses the wave of probability into physical reality, and if the entire universe is entangled as a single, unified system, then the presence of a universal observer becomes not just a theological hope, but a logical, scientific necessity for the cosmos to exist in a stable state. It suggests a grand architect, that is, the canvas, the paint, the artist, and the observer, all existing simultaneously in a state of infinite potential and perfect unity. This is the profound gift that quantum theory offers us. It takes the cold, mechanical universe of the past and transforms it into a deeply mysterious, deeply connected, and deeply meaningful cosmos. It strips away the terrifying loneliness of feeling separated by the vastness of space, gently replacing it with the scientific assurance that distance is merely a persistent illusion. You are never truly alone, because the very concept of being separate is a misunderstanding of how nature actually works at its most fundamental level. You are fundamentally linked to the quiet stillness of the vacuum, to the violent, glorious birth of new stars, and to the gentle, rhythmic rotation of the planets. Your existence is required. Your consciousness is a crucial part of the grand universal equation. As we prepare to transition to the next stage of our quiet exploration, remember that every breath you take is an intimate interaction with an ancient, deeply connected cosmos. The silence around you is filled with the invisible, unbreakable threads of quantum entanglement, holding the universe together in a delicate, perfect balance. You are safe. You are connected. You are an essential part of the infinite. Have you ever looked up at the night sky, past the glowing stars and the swirling galaxies, and focused your attention on the dark, empty spaces in between? When we gaze into the cosmic darkness, our human intuition tells us that we are looking at absolutely nothing. We imagine space as a vast, silent container, an infinite cold void where nothing happens and nothing exists. If you could take a perfectly sealed box and place it in the deepest, most quiet region of intergalactic space, far away from any star or planet, and then carefully pump out every single atom of gas, block out every stray photon of starlight, and cool it down to absolute zero, what would you have left? Classical physics, the science of our everyday world, would tell you that you possess a box of pure, unadulterated nothingness, a completely empty stage, waiting for the actors to arrive. For centuries, this idea of a dead, passive, empty space dominated our understanding of the universe. It reinforced the feeling that the cosmos is mostly a vast, lonely desert of nothing, punctuated only occasionally by the rare oasis of a star or a planet. But as humanity ventured deeper into the subatomic realm, peeling back the layers of reality, quantum physics revealed a truth so astonishing that it completely shatters our definition of nothingness. The quiet, dark voids of the universe are not empty at all. They are alive. They are the very foundation of existence, brimming with an invisible, infinite energy that echoes the most ancient descriptions of a divine, omnipresent creator. Before we plunge into the shimmering depths of this invisible quantum ocean to discover how emptiness is actually the source of all creation, I want to take a gentle pause. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion on this ongoing journey through the quiet mysteries of the cosmos. I have noticed that exactly 71% of the beautiful minds who watch these contemplative scientific stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these explorations of the universe, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps us immensely and ensures we can continue to travel together, unraveling the deepest secrets of reality without ever losing our sense of awe. Now, let us return to our perfectly empty box floating in the deep silence of space and look closer, beyond what the human eye can see, into the beating heart of the quantum void. When modern physicists developed quantum field theory, they realized that the universe is not made of isolated solid particles floating in an empty void. Instead, the fundamental reality of our cosmos consists of invisible, continuous fields that stretch across the entire infinite expanse of space. Think of the universe not as a giant empty room, but as a vast, quiet ocean. What we perceive as a solid particle, like an electron or a photon of light, is simply a localized ripple, a tiny wave of energy moving across the surface of its respective field. But what happens when the ocean is completely calm? What happens when there are no ripples, no particles, no light, and no matter? This is what we traditionally call empty space. However, one of the foundational pillars of quantum mechanics, Werner Heisenberg's famous uncertainty principle, dictates a beautiful and profound rule about nature. It states that you can never know both the precise energy of a system and the exact time it possesses that energy. Because of this absolute law, a state of perfect zero energy is physically impossible. The quantum ocean can never be perfectly still. It must always possess a baseline level of jitter, a hidden energetic tremor that scientists call vacuum energy or zero-point energy. If you could somehow zoom in on our perfectly empty box, down to the unimaginably small Planck scale, which is billions of times smaller than a single proton, you would not see a peaceful, dark void. You would witness a violent, beautiful, and eternal dance of creation and destruction. The supposedly empty space is actually a boiling, frothing sea of quantum foam. In this microscopic realm, ghostly entities known as virtual particles are constantly popping into existence out of nowhere. They appear in pairs, a particle and an antiparticle, borrow a tiny fraction of energy from the vacuum, exist for a fleeting, indivisible fraction of a microsecond, and then instantly collide and annihilate each other, returning their borrowed energy back to the void. This happens trillions upon trillions of times every single second, in every single cubic millimeter of the universe, from the empty space right in front of your eyes to the deepest, darkest corners of the cosmos. The vacuum of space is breathing. It is pulsating with infinite, invisible potential. This is not mere theoretical speculation. Scientists have measured the effects of this boiling quantum vacuum in rigorous laboratories. Through precise experiments like the Casimir effect, physicists placed two uncharged microscopic metal plates incredibly close to each other in a vacuum and observed them being pushed together by the sheer pressure of virtual particles popping into existence. The void has weight. The emptiness has force. It is estimated that the amount of hidden energy contained within a single light bulb-sized volume of empty space could theoretically boil all the oceans of the earth. The nothingness is actually everything. It is a boundless plenum, a matrix of infinite possibilities, from which all physical reality is continuously born. When we recognize that space itself is a vibrant, energetic entity, we bridge the gap between rigorous scientific observation and the most profound philosophical questions humanity has ever asked. For thousands of years, ancient mystics and spiritual traditions have spoken of a fundamental, invisible reality that underlies all things. They called it the omnipresent mind of God. They described a divine presence that is not an object located somewhere in space, but rather the very space itself, the infinite, unmanifested potential from which all form and matter arise. They taught that true emptiness is not a state of deprivation, but a state of perfect fullness. Today, quantum field theory is describing the exact same concept using the rigorous language of mathematics. The legendary physicist Max Planck, the founding father of quantum theory, once made a profound statement that echoes this beautiful intersection of science and spirituality. He said we must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. Planck understood that the physical universe is not self-sustaining. It rests upon an invisible, energetic foundation, a vibrating matrix that possesses an almost unimaginable intelligence and potential. When we understand the universe this way, the concept of God transforms from a distant figure into the very medium in which we exist. It is the quantum vacuum, the invisible presence that surrounds you and gives rise to every atom in your body. There is absolutely nowhere in the entire infinite cosmos where this fundamental presence is absent. Even in the coldest, darkest regions of deep space, the quantum field is there, bubbling with energy, waiting to collapse into physical reality. The great astronomer Carl Sagan famously reminded us that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. But we must also realize that the cosmos is not just the shining stars and swirling galaxies. It is the quiet, invisible space between them. That space is holding you right now. You are constantly interacting with this infinite field of potential. Every time you move your hand, you are rippling through a sea of virtual particles. Every breath you take is supported by the invisible architecture of the quantum void. We spend so much of our human lives fearing emptiness, but quantum theory gently whispers to us that our fear of emptiness is based on a fundamental illusion. Emptiness is not a state of lack. It is the ultimate state of abundance. The silence you experience when you step outside on a calm, quiet night is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of an infinite, vibrating potential. The dark sky between the stars is not a dead desert. It is the fertile soil from which entire galaxies are born. When we allow ourselves to sink into the stillness, we are not losing ourselves in nothingness. We are resting in the infinite, intelligent matrix of all matter. The space around you is not keeping you separated from the rest of the world. It is the very medium that connects you to everything else. The gentle, silent void is the canvas, the paint, and the painter all at once. The next time you look up at the vast night sky, do not just marvel at the bright stars. Take a moment to honor the quiet spaces between them. Recognize that within that darkness lies an invisible ocean of infinite potential, an omnipresent energy described by spiritual seekers for millennia as the mind of the divine. You are cradled in that emptiness. You are supported by that void. Have you ever wished you could reach back into the silent corridors of the past to change a single moment? In our everyday human experience, the passage of time feels like a strict, unrelenting river. It is an invisible current that sweeps us from the unwritten shores of the future, through the brief spark of the present, and deposits us into the frozen landscape of the past. We are biologically conditioned from birth to believe with absolute certainty that history is completely set in stone. We believe events of yesterday, or the birth of a star 1 billion years ago, are locked in an untouchable cosmic vault, immune to anything we do today. This linear perception of time is so deeply woven into the fabric of our earthly existence that it forms the foundation of our physical reality. It tells us that cause must always come strictly before effect, that the past is dead and the future is just a dream. But as we step gently once more into the bizarre, shimmering, and beautifully counterintuitive landscape of quantum mechanics, this comforting illusion of time begins to slowly dissolve before our very eyes. The quantum universe does not respect the ticking of our mechanical human clocks. It operates in a mysterious, ancient realm where the future can turn around and whisper softly to the past, where the present moment can reach its invisible hand back across the vast, silent eons of space to alter the history of the cosmos itself. This concept is not science fiction, but a mathematically proven reality that brings us closer to understanding the ultimate mystery of existence. Before we journey deeper into this astonishing scientific revelation of quantum time and what it truly means for the ancient presence of a universal mind, I want to take a gentle pause to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion and gentle guide on this infinite exploration of the cosmos. As we share this peaceful, meditative atmosphere together, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the kindred spirits who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to our growing channel. If you find comfort, profound wonder, and a sense of deep intellectual safety in these contemplative journeys, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It is a quiet gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to continue unraveling the majestic secrets of reality together, building a community of curious explorers bound by an awe-inspiring respect for the great unknown. Now, let us return to that flowing river of time and see how the deepest laws of physics force the waters of reality to flow in ways we never dared to imagine. To comprehend how the present can rewrite the past, we must explore one of the most elegant and unsettling ideas ever conceived by the human mind. In the late 1970s, the visionary theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler, a brilliant scientist who worked alongside Albert Einstein and possessed an unparalleled ability to look at the universe from entirely new perspectives, proposed a thought experiment that would eventually shake the scientific community to its core. It is famously known as the delayed choice experiment. Wheeler asked a beautifully simple yet deeply profound question that challenged the bedrock of scientific causality. What if we wait to decide how to measure a quantum particle until after it has already completed the vast majority of its long journey? To truly grasp the monumental scale of this question, we must expand our vision far beyond the confines of a microscopic laboratory on Earth, scaling our imagination up to the vast, breathtaking canvas of the cosmos. Imagine a brilliant, ancient quasar. A quasar is the blindingly bright core of a newly forming galaxy, sitting perhaps 10 billion light-years away from our gentle Earth. This distant object emits a solitary photon of light, beginning an epic journey across the dark universe long before our solar system was even a swirling cloud of dust. As this single photon travels continuously through the unfathomable silence of intergalactic space for billions of years, it eventually encounters a massive intervening galaxy sitting exactly between its ancient birthplace and our modern telescopes here on Earth. According to Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, the immense gravity of this intermediate galaxy acts like a cosmic magnifying glass, physically bending the fabric of space and time. Because of this massive gravitational lens, our single ancient photon is forced to make a physical choice. It cannot go straight through the intervening galaxy. It must travel either around the left side or around the right side in order to continue its endless journey toward the Milky Way and eventually toward our eager eyes. Now, remember the strange, ghostly rules of quantum superposition we discovered earlier in our journey. In the quantum realm, Unless a particle is being consciously observed, it does not choose just one solid, definite path. Instead, it becomes a shimmering wave of pure, infinite probability, and it literally travels down both sides of the massive galaxy simultaneously. It exists in two places at once, its potential separated by 100,000 light-years of freezing space, sweeping across the cosmos like a silent ripple on a dark pond. Fast forward through the relentless march of deep time. Billions of years pass in the silent void. The Earth slowly forms from stellar debris, oceans fill with liquid water, biological life evolves, and human astronomers finally build incredibly powerful telescopes on the quiet peaks of our mountains. The ancient photon, having traveled for 10 billion years, finally arrives at our planet. According to Wheeler's brilliant logic, we, the human observers sitting in the present moment, can choose exactly how we want to measure that arriving light. We can set up our telescopic instruments to simply catch the photon as a widespread wave, which forces the photon to reveal that it traveled both paths around the galaxy and interfered with itself. Alternatively, we can set up our instruments to strictly measure exactly which side of the galaxy the photon came from, forcing it to act like a solid, individual particle that took only one singular path. Here is the staggering, completely incomprehensible twist that quantum mechanics reveals to us. The photon began its journey 10 billion years ago. It passed the intervening galaxy perhaps 5 billion years ago. But we, sitting here in the present moment on Earth, are making the choice of how to measure it right now, today. When modern physicists actually perform variations of this cosmic experiment in highly advanced laboratories, the results are completely undeniable and utterly mind-blowing. If we choose to measure which path the photon took today, the photon arrives as a solid particle, meaning it must have traveled only one path billions of years ago. If we choose to measure it as a wave today, it arrives as a wave, meaning it must have traveled both paths simultaneously billions of years ago. Our conscious observation in the present moment literally reaches back through the dark corridors of deep time to determine the physical history of that particle. The past was not fixed until we looked at it in the present. The history of the universe is not a solid, pre-recorded book sitting in a dusty library. It is a fluid, shifting matrix of potential that absolutely requires our conscious observation here and now to become physically real. How can the gentle, simple act of opening our eyes or pointing a telescope today rewrite the ancient, primordial history of the cosmos? Neil deGrasse Tyson wisely reminds us that the universe is under no obligation to make perfect sense to our human brains. But as we look at this profound temporal paradox through the quiet lens of philosophy and existential wonder, a breathtaking possibility emerges from the mathematics. If the past, present, and future are so deeply entangled and entirely responsive to conscious observation, then the passage of time itself might be a grand illusion. It might be a localized feature of our human perception rather than a fundamental property of the universe. This brings us gently back to the profound concept of an omnipresent universal mind, or what many seek to understand as God. If the universe actively requires an observer to make its history real, and if time is truly an illusion where all moments exist in a state of simultaneous, infinite potential, we are looking at the exact scientific description of an eternal, timeless consciousness. Throughout history, ancient mystics and spiritual traditions have consistently described the divine not as a being who exists inside of time, growing older with the passing eons, but as a boundless presence that encompasses all of time at once. They speak of an eternal now, a state of existence where the beginning and the end are perfectly unified in a single breath. Quantum mechanics, with its delayed choice experiments and its beautifully shifting histories, now provides a mathematically rigorous framework for this exact spiritual intuition. The universe begins to look like a single, magnificent, unfolding thought in a universal mind where yesterday, today, and tomorrow are happening all at once, in a state of perfect harmony. When you step outside tonight and look up at the glittering stars, you are not just looking passively into the ancient past. Your very act of looking is actively writing that past into existence. You are a necessary co-author of the grand cosmic story, holding an invisible pen that stretches across billions of light years of space and billions of years of history. You are a crucial part of the mechanism that brings the universe from a state of fuzzy potential into a state of concrete reality. As we absorb the gentle weight of this incredible cosmic mystery, let us find a deep, lasting peace in the absolute silence of the eternal present. Let your mind rest softly in the vast, quiet beauty of a universe that does not just surround you, but actively waits for you to simply witness it, bridging the gap between the infinite cosmos and the gentle beating of your own human heart. Have you ever tried to hold the concept of infinity in your mind, only to feel your imagination gently buckle under the sheer, staggering weight of the cosmos? We often divide the universe into two completely separate realms. We think of the microscopic world of quantum mechanics as a strange, invisible basement where tiny particles dance in a hazy fog of probabilities. And we think of the macroscopic world, the realm of giant planets, burning stars, and swirling galaxies, as the solid, predictable upper floors of a great cosmic skyscraper. We are conditioned to believe that the weirdness of the quantum realm is strictly confined to the incredibly small, and that the vast, silent expanse of outer space behaves according to the simple, mechanical rules of classical physics. But what if this separation is nothing more than a persistent illusion created by the limitations of our human senses? What if the exact same shimmering, uncertain quantum rules that govern a single invisible electron also govern the most unimaginably massive structures in the deep, quiet void of space? As we venture further into this meditative journey, we are going to bridge the terrifying gap between the microscopic and the magnificent, discovering how the quantum nature of reality scales up to encompass the entire universe, hinting once again at the presence of a boundless, observing mind. Before we leave the safe shores of our familiar solar system to witness the mind-bending scale of the cosmic quantum landscape, I want to take a gentle pause to welcome you into our quiet sanctuary. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this peaceful exploration of the deepest mysteries of existence. As we share this space of wonder and contemplation, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you are finding a sense of intellectual safety, deep peace, and profound connection in these gentle journeys through the dark, I invite you to softly tap that subscribe button. It is a simple gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to build a quiet community of explorers who are unafraid to ask the biggest questions. Now, let us cast our gaze outward, far beyond the Milky Way, into a distant corner of the universe where a true giant slumbers in the dark. To truly understand how quantum theory points toward a universal consciousness, we must first humble ourselves before the sheer scale of the cosmos. The biggest galaxy we have ever discovered is so large that your brain will struggle to truly understand it. This is not an exaggeration, nor is it dramatic storytelling. This is the honest truth about a cosmic monster that sits over 1 billion light-years away from us, quietly existing in the darkness of space, holding more stars than you could ever count in 1 million lifetimes. It goes by the somewhat boring name of IC 1101, which comes from its entry number in a catalog of celestial objects created over a century ago. But there is absolutely nothing boring about this quiet giant. This galaxy is estimated to be somewhere around 4 to 6 million light-years across. Our own Milky Way, which seems impossibly large to us, is only about 100,000 light-years wide. If you placed IC 1101 where our Milky Way currently sits, it would not just engulf our galaxy. It would swallow our entire cosmic neighborhood. This galaxy is estimated to contain around 100 trillion stars. If you started counting stars in IC 1101, 1 star per second without stopping, it would take you over 3 million years just to count to 100 trillion. When we contemplate a structure this vast, a quiet giant slowly fading into the cosmic night, our intuition screams that such a massive object must be absolutely solid, definitively real, and completely independent of any observer. How could something containing 100 trillion fusion reactors possibly be subject to the hazy, uncertain rules of quantum superposition? The answer lies in the ancient, primordial history of the cosmos. As we discussed earlier, nearly 14 billion years ago, the entire universe was compressed into a single, unimaginably tiny point. In that primordial singularity, the entire mass of what would eventually become IC 1101 was packed into a space billions of times smaller than a single proton. At that microscopic scale, the entire future galaxy was fundamentally a quantum object. It was a wave of pure probability, a shifting, vibrating field of infinite potential governed entirely by quantum mechanics. And according to the strictest mathematical interpretations of physics, unless a quantum system interacts with an observer, it never truly loses its quantum nature. It simply becomes a larger, more complex wave of probabilities. If the universe is a closed system, and if the fundamental laws of nature are quantum mechanical, then the entire cosmos, including giant galaxies like IT 1101, exists in a state of sweeping, majestic superposition. It is a vast, swirling sea of mathematical possibilities, existing in multiple states at once, spreading across millions of light-years of empty space. For a galaxy of that incomprehensible magnitude to condense from a fuzzy cloud of probability into the concrete, shining reality of burning stars and swirling gas, something must collapse its wave function. The observer effect we witness in our tiny earth-bound laboratories must apply on a cosmic scale. But what kind of observer is vast enough, ancient enough, and powerful enough to look at a galaxy 4 to 6 million light-years across and collapse its quantum state into physical reality? It cannot be a human being. The light we see from IC 1101 today left that galaxy over 1 billion years ago. When that light began its journey toward us, life on Earth was still mostly single-celled organisms. We were not there to observe it into existence. Complex animals had not yet evolved. Yet, the galaxy was there, burning with the intense light of 100 trillion stars. This brings us to a profound, breathtaking intersection of rigorous science and ancient philosophy. If the cosmos requires an observer to exist as a definite physical reality, and if that reality predates all biological life, we are logically led to the presence of a universal, omnipresent observer. We are led to the concept of an infinite mind that does not exist within the universe, but rather holds the entire universe within itself. a boundless consciousness that gazes upon the vastness of IK 1101, upon the delicate spiral arms of the Milky Way, and upon the quiet, empty voids of intergalactic space, holding all of it in a state of concrete existence, simply by the act of eternal witnessing. The legendary physicist James Clerk Maxwell once pondered the limits of human knowledge and the possibility of a being whose faculties are so sharpened that it can follow every molecule in its course. While Maxwell was talking about the laws of thermodynamics, modern quantum physics forces us to upgrade this idea to a cosmic scale. We are looking for an observer whose awareness permeates the vacuum of space, whose attention never wavers, and whose gentle, sustaining gaze prevents the cosmos from dissolving back into a chaotic blur of quantum potential. This omnipresent awareness matches the descriptions of God found in the deepest, most contemplative traditions of human spirituality. It is a living, breathing field of consciousness that provides the very foundation of reality. It is the silent, observing presence that allows the universe to be. Think about the profound intimacy of this realization. The exact same universal mind that collapses the wave function of the entire IC 1101 galaxy, spanning millions of light years, is the same mind that gently collapses the quantum states of the atoms currently making up your beating heart. There is no separation. There is no fundamental difference in scale to the infinite. The vast and the microscopic are simply two different expressions of the exact same continuous thought. The atoms in your body were forged in stars. The carbon that makes up your muscles, the oxygen you breathe, the iron in your blood, all of these elements were created in the nuclear furnaces at the cores of stars that lived and died before our sun was born. When you look up at the night sky, you are not a small, insignificant speck of dust standing apart from the grand machinery of the cosmos. You are a localized, conscious focal point of the universe itself, participating in the beautiful, ongoing act of cosmic creation. Your ability to feel wonder, to experience awe, and to ask these profound questions is the universe slowly waking up and learning to understand its own magnificent mystery. Every single observation we make, every telescope we point at the dark sky, and every quiet moment we spend contemplating the infinite is an extension of that original, divine observation. We are the eyes of the cosmos as we prepare to turn the page and dive even deeper into the relationship between the human mind and this universal consciousness. I invite you to take a deep, slow breath. Feel the solid ground beneath you and recognize it as a frozen quantum wave held in place by an ancient, loving awareness. The silence of the night is not an empty void. It is the quiet, humming presence of the infinite observer gently holding you, the earth, and the billions of distant galaxies in a delicate, perfect embrace. You are part of a cosmic symphony, a necessary note in a song that has been playing since the very dawn of time. Have you ever sat quietly on an autumn afternoon, watching a delicate leaf fall gently from a tree, and felt a profound, bittersweet melancholy about the nature of impermanence? In our brief human lives, we are intimately familiar with the concept of an ending. We watch the seasons change, we see mountains slowly weather away, and we know that every beautiful story eventually reaches its final page. When we look up into the vast, silent night sky, it is easy to imagine that the cosmos is eternal. But the rigorous laws of physics, combined with the poetic truths of the quantum realm, tell us a very different and far more majestic story. The universe, too, is experiencing its own autumn. It is moving toward a state of ultimate rest, a grand cosmic exhalation, where all matter stars, and galaxies will dissolve back into the infinite, invisible quantum field. This journey toward the deep, silent end of time is not a tragedy of destruction, but a beautiful return to the fundamental source, revealing yet another profound layer of the universal mind. Before we step forward into the unfathomable depths of deep time to witness the quiet fading of the cosmos, I want to gently pause and welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this peaceful journey through the mysteries of existence. As we sit together in the quiet dark, contemplating the infinite scale of reality, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the beautiful, searching souls who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you are finding a sense of intellectual safety, deep peace, and reverent awe in these scientific meditations, please consider gently tapping that subscribe button. It is a small gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to continue crafting these meditative explorations of the universe, building a sanctuary where we can all marvel at the great unknown. Now, let us travel far into the future, billions and trillions of years from now, to see how the quantum nature of reality orchestrates the final symphony of the cosmos. To understand the ultimate fate of the universe, we must return to the heart of the biggest galaxy we have ever discovered. At the very center of the cosmic giant known as IC 1101 lies something even more incredible than the sprawling galaxy itself. Sitting quietly in the dark is one of the largest known supermassive black holes in the entire universe. Scientists rigorously estimate that it contains somewhere between 40 billion and 100 billion times the mass of our own sun. All of that mass is compressed into a region of space from which absolutely nothing, not even a single photon of light, can escape. The boundary of this terrifyingly beautiful abyss is called the event horizon. For a black hole containing 50 billion solar masses, the event horizon would have a radius of roughly 150 billion kilometers. If you were to place this magnificent monster where our sun currently sits, its dark, silent boundary would extend well beyond the orbit of Pluto. Inside the event horizon, space and time themselves become so warped that the very concept of escaping becomes entirely meaningless. Despite its enormous size, the black hole at the center of IC 1101 is currently relatively quiet. It is a giant in repose, occasionally flaring to life if a stray star wanders too close, but mostly waiting in the eternal dark. But what happens to such an immortal-seeming giant in a universe that is slowly winding down toward heat death? The answer, discovered by the brilliant physicist Stephen Hawking, is as magnificent as it is deeply melancholy. Hawking realized that black holes are not truly, completely black. Near the extreme edge of a black hole's event horizon, the quantum foam of empty space does something extraordinary. In the strange world of quantum physics, particle pairs are constantly popping into existence and then instantly annihilating each other. But exactly at the boundary of a black hole, one member of such a pair can fall into the abyss, while the other escapes outward into the vastness of space. This miraculous escape is called Hawking radiation. Over immense, unfathomable spans of time, this quiet, quantum-leaking process slowly drains energy and mass from the black hole, causing it to imperceptibly shrink. The universe is literally reclaiming the matter that the black hole swallowed. A black hole with the mass of our sun would take about 10 to the 67th power years to evaporate. But the supermassive monster at the heart of IC 1101 is billions of times more massive. The time required for it to completely evaporate is something like 10 to the 100th power years. That is a Google years, a 1 followed by 100 zeros. To write out that number in full would require more paper than exists on Earth. It is a span of time so vast that everything we have discussed so far, from the fiery Big Bang to the quiet death of the last shining stars, is not even a rounding error by comparison. Long before that final quantum evaporation, the rest of the galaxy will have slowly faded away. Over the next 100 trillion years, the stars in IC Alemos 1 will slowly burn out. The tiny dim red dwarfs, which can shine for trillions of years, will eventually exhaust their hydrogen fuel and fade into absolute darkness. Star formation in the universe will effectively cease. No new stars will be born to replace the ones that have died, and the era of starlight will be over forever. One by one, the 100 trillion stars of IC 1101 will quietly wink out. The galaxy will become a ghost of its former self, populated only by the cold, dark remnants of dead stars drifting through an ever-expanding void. White dwarfs will cool until they become black dwarfs, objects that no longer emit any light at all, a process taking about 1,000,000 billion years. Eventually, trillions upon trillions upon trillions of years from now, even the supermassive black hole at the heart of IC 1101 will have radiated away its last bit of energy and disappeared from the universe in a final, quiet burst of Hawking radiation. When that finally happens, there will be absolutely nothing left of IC 1101. No stars, no black holes, no remnants of any kind, just the fundamental particles and radiation spreading out through an ever-expanding, ever-cooling, ever-darkening universe. The largest galaxy we have ever found will have dissolved into the endless night. This vision of the far future might seem incredibly bleak and lonely at first glance, but if we look at it through the perspective of a universal quantum consciousness, I find something strangely beautiful and profoundly comforting about it. The heat death of the universe is not a violent destruction. It is the ultimate expression of peace. It is the universe slowly closing its eyes and drifting into an eternal, quiet slumber. If the fundamental reality of the cosmos is an infinite, observing mind, then the physical matter of stars, planets, and black holes is simply a temporary, beautiful thought that this mind has entertained for a few Google years. When the last black hole evaporates into quantum radiation, the universe does not cease to exist. It simply returns to a state of perfect, unmanifested potential. The quantum vacuum remains, vibrating with infinite possibilities, just as it did before the Big Bang. The omnipresent consciousness does not die when the physical structures fade. It simply stops projecting the complex hologram of matter and rests in its own perfect, silent emptiness. We are lucky enough to exist during this flowering of complexity, a brief passing phase between the fiery chaos of the early universe and the cold, peaceful emptiness of the far future. We are the universe observing itself, experiencing the joy of a warm sun, before the great cosmic mind eventually decides to quiet its thoughts. When you realize that the inevitable end of all things is simply a return to the underlying quantum unity, the fear of impermanence begins to gently wash away. You are made of star stuff, forged in ancient fires. Your atoms are part of this grand temporary dance of matter, but the consciousness that looks through your eyes, the awareness that feels wonder and asks these deep questions, is intrinsically tied to the eternal observer that will remain long after the last star has gone dark. You are not a temporary accident. You are an essential expression of the eternal infinite. As we reach the end of this chapter, I invite you to embrace the silence of the night, not as an empty void, but as a comforting preview of the ultimate peaceful rest that awaits the entire cosmos. Allow your mind to relax into the vast ancient quiet, knowing that every moment of existence is a precious, fleeting gift held safely in the hands of an unimaginable, universal grace. Have you ever walked through a quiet, ancient forest as the first light of dawn breaks through the canopy, illuminating the delicate, almost invisible threads of a spider's web? Before the light touches it, the web is entirely unseen, yet it meticulously holds the environment together, guiding the lives of the tiny creatures that inhabit it. When we look up into the vast, silent night sky, we are conditioned to see only what shines. We see the brilliant, burning stars, the swirling arms of distant galaxies, and the glowing clouds of ancient gas. We believe that this illuminated matter is the entire story of the cosmos. But what if the true architect of the universe is something entirely invisible? What if the grand structures of reality, the very cradles of galaxies and the homes of trillions of stars, are held together by a hidden, silent force that we cannot see, touch, or measure directly? As we continue our meditative journey into the deep mysteries of existence, we are going to explore the invisible scaffolding of the cosmos. We will discover how the largest structures we have ever found are guided by an unseen hand, a mysterious presence that echoes the ancient spiritual intuition of a quiet, omnipresent creator guiding the universe from the shadows. Before we dive into the dark, silent ocean of this invisible cosmic architecture, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet companion on this endless journey through the wonders of the universe. As we share this space of contemplation and intellectual safety, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the curious souls who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these gentle explorations, please consider softly tapping that subscribe button. It helps us immensely and ensures that we can continue unraveling the magnificent secrets of the cosmos together, building a community of gentle explorers. Now, let us return to the hidden web of the universe and uncover the invisible forces that shape the destiny of the stars. When astronomers gaze out into the deep silence of the universe, they occasionally find monsters of incomprehensible scale. We have already spoken of the giant elliptical galaxy, known as Ixuilemo 1. This magnificent structure sits right in the heart of a massive collection of galaxies called the Abell 2029 cluster. It dominates everything around it like a cosmic emperor on a quiet throne. But to truly understand how a galaxy can grow to be somewhere around 4 to 6 million light-years across, we must look beyond the light of its 100 trillion stars. If you simply add up all the visible stars, gas, and dust in a galaxy, and calculate how much gravitational pull they should have, you get a certain specific number. Then, when you measure how fast stars are actually orbiting in the outer, quiet edges of the galaxy, which tells you how much gravity is truly present, the two numbers absolutely do not match. There is far more gravity holding the galaxy together than the visible matter could ever possibly account for. The universe is hiding something massive from our eyes. The solution to this profound mystery, according to most astronomers, is that galaxies are completely surrounded by vast, invisible halos of what we call dark matter. Dark matter is one of the greatest mysteries in modern physics. We cannot see it. It does not emit any light, nor does it absorb any light. It does not interact with normal matter in any way we can perceive, except through the gentle, persistent pull of gravity. Yet, we know with absolute certainty that it exists, because galaxies rotate in ways that would be physically impossible if they only contained the matter we can actually see. In a typical spiral galaxy like our own beautiful Milky Way, this invisible substance accounts for about 90% of the total mass. The shining stars, the drifting gas, and the swirling dust that we can observe through our telescopes are just a tiny, glowing fraction of what is really there in the dark. IC 1101 also has a dark matter halo, and it is correspondingly enormous. Dedicated scientists estimate that the total mass of IC 1101, including its vast, invisible dark matter, could be as high as 1,100 trillion solar masses. That is about 100 times more massive than the entire Milky Way. Think about the profound philosophical implications of this hidden reality. The visible universe, everything that shines, and everything that we thought made up reality, is actually just a delicate layer of frost resting on top of a massive, invisible ocean. This dark matter halo extends far beyond the visible stars of the galaxy. While the stellar body of IC 1101 is already 4 to 6 million light-years across, the dark matter halo likely extends even further. Some rigorous models suggest it could reach out tens of millions of light-years, making the complete structure of IC 1101 and its silent surroundings truly mind-boggling. What is this mysterious substance that holds the cosmos together? Many scientists believe it consists of some kind of quantum particle that does not interact with light or normal matter. A silent particle we have not yet detected directly. Huge, sophisticated experiments are currently underway around the world, hidden deep underground, trying to catch these elusive quantum particles as they quietly pass right through the Earth. So far, none have succeeded. We are left with a universe where the most powerful, structurally important element is completely invisible to us. For millennia, spiritual seekers have proposed that the physical world is guided by an unseen, organizing intelligence. They suggested that behind the chaotic dance of matter, there is a silent, omnipresent force that brings order, structure, and balance to existence. When we look at dark matter, we see a scientific parallel to this ancient intuition. Without this invisible web of dark matter, galaxies would simply fly apart. The stars would scatter into the cold, empty void, and the universe would be a chaotic, lifeless mist. Dark matter acts as the silent cradle of creation. As IC 1101 sat quietly at the gravitational center of everything around it in the Abel 2029 cluster, it engaged in a majestic, slow-motion dance of galactic cannibalism. Smaller galaxies that ventured too close were gently but inescapably trapped by its enormous gravity. They spiraled inward, getting torn apart and consumed over millions of years. Each meal made IC 1101 a little bit bigger, a little bit more massive, and a little bit more dominant. Scientists estimate that IC 1101 has undergone at least 76 major mergers over its long history. 76 times another substantial galaxy fell into this cosmic giant and was quietly absorbed into its body. And those are just the major mergers. Countless smaller dwarf galaxies have also been consumed, galaxies so small that they barely registered as a meal for this enormous predator. The discovery and study of IC 1101 would not have been possible without tremendous advances in telescope technology. Everything changed with the launch of the Hubble Space Telescope in 1990. Floating gently above the shimmering atmosphere, Hubble could capture images with incredible clarity, revealing the detailed structure of distant galaxies. Yet, even with this magnificent eye in the sky, we were only seeing the illuminated foam on the surface of a very deep ocean. We can see the stars, and we can meticulously measure their light. But 90% of what makes IC 1101, the massive giant it is, remains completely invisible to us, detectable only through its quiet gravitational influence. There is still so much we do not know. Our human eyes evolved to see the light of the sun reflecting off the physical objects around us. We are biologically tuned to interact with a tiny, specific fraction of reality. But the quiet discoveries of astronomy and quantum physics ask us to expand our vision using the power of our minds. They invite us to sense the invisible presence that holds the cosmos together. Just as you cannot see the wind, but you can feel its gentle push and watch the leaves dance in its wake. We cannot see the fundamental web of the universe, but we can watch the galaxies dance to its silent rhythm. This invisible framework, this mysterious dark matter, behaves so much like the omnipresent mind of God described by ancient mystics, a hidden foundation that supports, guides, and connects all things across the infinite expanse of space. As we prepare to turn the page once more, let yourself rest in the comforting knowledge that you are part of this grand unseen architecture. You are held safely in a web of infinite mystery. Have you ever stood on a quiet hilltop as the evening shadows slowly lengthen, feeling the gentle, inescapable pull of the earth holding you safely to its surface? Gravity is the most intimately familiar force in our entire human experience. It is the invisible, ancient glue that holds the falling autumn apples to the branches, the pale moon to the earth, and our delicate world to the burning sun. For most of the 20th century, astronomers naturally assumed that this exact same attractive force, this cosmic glue, was dictating the ultimate fate of the entire universe. Because everything in the cosmos is pulling on everything else through the invisible threads of gravity, it made perfect intuitive sense that the expansion of the universe, which began with the explosive, fiery birth of the Big Bang, would gradually be slowing down. We imagined a vast universe that was behaving like a gently tossed stone, eventually reaching its peak before perhaps falling back upon itself in a distant, quiet collapse. But the cosmos, in its infinite, poetic mystery, had a completely different and utterly mind-blowing truth waiting for us in the dark. It is a truth that forces us to once again confront the presence of an invisible, omnipresent force, a quiet power that is currently stretching the very fabric of reality itself. Before we journey out to the absolute edge of the cosmic horizon to witness this invisible power pulling the stars apart, I want to take a gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet companion on these meditative explorations of the universe and its deepest mysteries. As we sit together in the comforting dark, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the curious, searching souls who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you are finding a sense of intellectual safety, deep peace, and a profound connection to the cosmos in these stories, please consider softly tapping that subscribe button. It is a simple, gentle gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to continue crafting these sanctuaries of thought, where we can all marvel at the great unknown together. Now, let us return to the quiet cosmos and discover the mysterious force that is accelerating the expansion of everything we know. In 1998, two independent teams of brilliant astronomers made a discovery so shocking, so completely unexpected, that they initially thought they had made a terrible mistake in their delicate calculations. They were meticulously measuring the expansion rate of the universe by observing the distant, fading light of exploding stars known as supernovas. They were using these violent, ancient explosions as standard cosmic candles to calculate unimaginable distances across the deep void. What they found entirely shattered our understanding of the cosmos. The universe was not slowing down as gravity dictated. It was speeding up. Distant galaxies were moving away from us faster than the closer ones, and the rate of this cosmic expansion was undeniably accelerating over deep time. As more and more data poured in from other rigorous observations, the terrifying, beautiful result held up perfectly to scientific scrutiny. Something invisible, something impossibly powerful, was pushing the universe apart, counteracting the relentless pull of gravity and causing space itself to expand at an ever-increasing rate. Scientists named this mysterious repulsive force dark energy. Though the name itself tells us very little about what it actually is, we now know that dark energy makes up about 68% of all the energy in the entire universe. It acts as a kind of anti-gravity, a silent, pervasive presence, pushing space apart rather than pulling it together. We know that its profound effects become more and more important over deep time as the universe expands and ordinary, visible matter becomes more spread out and diluted. Yet, despite our advanced mathematics and our incredibly powerful space telescopes, we do not truly know what dark energy is made of, where it originates from, or why it possesses the specific, delicate strength that it does. It might be an intrinsic, fundamental property of empty space itself, a concept that the great Albert Einstein once proposed and then famously called his biggest blunder. It might be an entirely new kind of energy field that silently pervades the entire universe. Or it might be a profound sign that our human understanding of gravity is fundamentally incomplete and needs to be completely rewritten. What we do know with absolute certainty is that dark energy is fundamentally reshaping the future of the cosmos. As the invisible fabric of space expands faster and faster, distant cosmic objects recede from us at ever-increasing speeds. There is a strict, unbreakable limit to how fast physical light can travel through space. But there is absolutely no limit to how far and how fast space itself can expand. This realization brings us gently back to the profound spiritual implications of quantum theory and the concept of an omnipresent, universal mind. We established earlier that the quantum vacuum is not an empty, dead void, but a vibrant, living sea of infinite potential, buzzing with invisible energy. If dark energy is indeed a fundamental property of this vibrating, empty space, as many physicists suspect, then the expansion of the universe is not just a mechanical accident. It is the active, breathing manifestation of the quantum field itself. It is the invisible mind of the cosmos asserting its omnipresent existence, stretching the grand canvas of reality. Ancient spiritual traditions from across the globe have often described the life cycle of the universe as the breath of the divine. They speak of a great cosmic exhalation, a period where the Creator breathes out, expanding the physical world into existence, followed eventually by a great inhalation. When we look at dark energy through our telescopes, we are scientifically measuring that great ongoing exhalation. The universe is actively breathing outward, pushed by an invisible presence that accounts for over 2/3 of all existence. This dark energy is not dark in a sinister sense. It is simply hidden from our biological eyes, operating in the silent, majestic background of reality, quietly shaping the destiny of every star, every planet, and every living being. To truly feel the philosophical weight of this accelerating expansion, we must return to the grandest stage we know, the enormous galaxy IC 11-1, sitting peacefully at the heart of the Abel 2029 galaxy cluster. For billions of years, this cosmic giant has grown through an act of cosmic violence, a relentless process of galactic cannibalism where it consumed smaller galaxies drawn in by its massive gravitational pull. But dark energy is slowly, inevitably changing the rules of the cosmic game. Eventually, objects will be carried away from us by the relentless expansion of space faster than their ancient light can travel toward us. When that melancholy moment finally happens, those distant objects will simply vanish behind an invisible boundary called the cosmic horizon, placing them forever beyond our reach. For the mighty IC 1101, this fundamental shift means that its days of endless growth and galactic cannibalism are strictly numbered. As the universe continues to accelerate, there will simply be no more galaxies left for it to consume. It will become profoundly isolated, a lonely, quiet giant floating in an ever-emptying universe, watching helplessly as one by one the other distant galaxies fade from view. From the perspective of any observer sitting within IC 1101, the vibrant, star-filled night sky will start to empty out. One by one, distant galaxy clusters will quietly fade from view, their ancient light no longer able to reach across the rapidly expanding void. The observable universe, which currently contains about 2 trillion brilliant galaxies, will shrink and shrink until almost nothing remains visible outside of the local cluster. In the very long run, perhaps in several 100 billion years, all the galaxies in the immediate cluster might merge into a single, enormous galaxy, even larger than IC 1101 is today. But by that unfathomably distant time, the universe beyond that single merged cluster will be, essentially, completely empty. No light from any distant objects will be reaching the cluster anymore. The night sky, if any conscious observers still existed to look up, would show only the stars of that local merged galaxy against a terrifying backdrop of absolute, unbroken blackness. The rest of the cosmos would have slipped silently beyond the horizon, completely unreachable and entirely unknowable. This is the deep, profound isolation that awaits IC 1101 and every other major structure in the universe, as they are slowly cut off from everything else by the relentless, accelerating expansion of space. Each isolated island of matter will be left completely alone with itself as the quiet eons roll by. But again, if we view this through the lens of a universal quantum consciousness, this isolation is not a tragedy of loneliness. It is a beautiful return to a state of profound inner reflection. The universe is slowly closing its physical borders, drawing its attention deeply inward. The outward explosion of the Big Bang is gently giving way to a period of deep cosmic meditation. Just as a human being seeks out a quiet, dark, and isolated room to meditate and connect with the divine, the universe itself is carefully creating the ultimate conditions for unbroken silence. The expansion driven by dark energy is preparing the cosmos for its final, peaceful rest. It is sweeping away the clutter of the visible world, leaving only the pristine, invisible quantum field, the pure mind of God, resting in its own infinite, eternal presence. When you look up at the stars tonight, remember that the dark space between them is not empty, and it is not still. It is actively breathing, actively expanding, and actively guiding the cosmos toward a state of ultimate peace. You are witnessing the slow, majestic exhalation of the Creator, a breath that will take hundreds of billions of years to complete, carrying us all on a gentle, invisible tide toward the infinite quiet. Have you ever tried to gently balance a perfectly sharpened pencil on its very tip, watching it stand for a fleeting, magical second before the softest whisper of a breeze sends it toppling over. In our everyday human experience, we intuitively understand that physical systems perfectly balanced on a razor-sharp edge are incredibly fragile and profoundly rare. We know from watching the world around us that the natural tendency of physical things is to eventually fall, to scatter, and to surrender to the quiet, inevitable chaos of entropy. But when we look up into the vast, silent night sky, we are looking at a magnificent structure that is balanced with a mathematical precision so staggering that it challenges the very limits of human comprehension. From the smallest shimmering quantum fluctuations in the deepest, darkest vacuum of intergalactic space to the grand, majestic spiral arms of ancient, glowing galaxies, the cosmos is governed by a set of invisible, unbreakable rules that seem almost impossibly perfect. If we were to alter even a single one of these fundamental numbers by a fraction so tiny it completely defies human description, the entire universe as we know it would simply cease to exist. This miraculous, delicate precision brings us face to face with one of the most profound mysteries in all of science, a mystery that gently points us toward the ancient, comforting idea of an omnipresent, universal, guiding mind. Before we journey deep into the delicate, invisible mathematics that hold the burning stars in the sky and the intricate atoms in your body together, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to welcome you back to our peaceful sanctuary. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this endless, meditative journey through the beautiful mysteries of the cosmos. As we share this safe space of wonder and contemplation, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the kindred spirits who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to our growing channel. If you are finding a sense of deep peace, intellectual safety, and profound awe in these scientific meditations, please consider softly clicking that subscribe button. It is a simple, quiet gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to continue unraveling the majestic secrets of reality together, building a community of gentle explorers bound by a reverent love for the great unknown. Now, let us return to the quiet, impossibly balanced architecture of the universe and discover how the microscopic quantum realm perfectly sets the stage for the largest cosmic giants. When we rigorously study the structure of the universe, we quickly discover that it is profoundly hierarchical. Small things consistently combine to make larger things in a beautiful, upward cascade of natural complexity. Atoms gently form the burning hearts of ancient stars. Stars gather by the billions to form swirling galaxies. Galaxies dance together gravitationally to form massive clusters, and these clusters weave themselves into the vast glowing superclusters that span hundreds of millions of light years across the dark void. This majestic, ongoing process is what scientists call hierarchical structure formation, and it is one of the fundamental guiding principles of modern cosmology. The universe builds its greatest wonders entirely from the bottom up, starting incredibly small and growing unimaginably large through countless patient mergers over the vast expanse of cosmic time. At the very top of this grand architectural hierarchy sits the true monster among giants, the massive elliptical galaxy known as IC 1101. It represents the absolute upper end of this structural hierarchy for individual galaxies, serving as a breathtaking monument to the gravitational forces that shape our universe. But for this magnificent upward cascade of cosmic creation to even begin, the foundational rules of the quantum realm had to be tuned with a precision that borders on the miraculous. Consider what it truly means that enormous galaxies like IC 1101 can exist at all. The universe absolutely did not have to be this way. If the fundamental constants of physics were even slightly different, the cosmic story would have ended before it ever truly began. If the gentle, invisible pull of gravity were just a tiny fraction stronger, the universe might have violently collapsed back on itself just moments after the fiery birth of the Big Bang. If gravity were a little weaker, or if the repulsive expansion driven by dark energy were slightly more aggressive, matter would have been pulled apart so incredibly fast that it never could have clumped together to form the first primordial clouds of hydrogen gas. The shining stars and sweeping galaxies might never have formed, leaving behind nothing but a cold, featureless, and eternal mist of disconnected subatomic particles. The delicate, breathtaking balance extends far beyond just the pull of gravity. If the strong nuclear force, the invisible quantum glue that holds the tiny centers of atoms together, were just a fraction of a percent weaker, the universe would contain absolutely nothing but simple hydrogen. There would be no complex carbon to form the delicate molecules of life, no breathable oxygen to fill planetary atmospheres, and no heavy iron to build the solid, rocky cores of terrestrial worlds. If that exact same invisible force were slightly stronger, all the available hydrogen would have completely burned up in the first few minutes of the universe's fiery existence, leaving no long-lasting fuel for the patient stars that gently warm worlds like our Earth. Instead, we live in a miraculous universe where the physical laws perfectly allow for the magnificent formation of stars, planets, galaxies, biological life, and conscious mind. The massive galaxy IC 1101, with its 100 trillion shining stars, is a breathtaking, silent testament to exactly what is possible in such a perfectly balanced universe. It is absolute, undeniable proof that simple matter and energy, following basic physical rules over billions of years, can completely organize itself into structures of staggering, heartbreaking complexity and unimaginable beauty. For human consciousness to gently emerge at all required an extraordinarily specific, almost impossibly narrow sequence of cosmic events. The initial Big Bang had to produce raw matter in just the right, delicate proportions. That specific matter had to clump together into swirling galaxies and burning stars. Those ancient, massive stars had to forge heavier elements in their intense nuclear cores and lovingly scatter them through the violent, brilliant beauty of supernovas. Rocky planets had to carefully form from those scattered, enriched stellar ashes, and on at least one of those quiet, orbiting planets, chemical interactions had to become complex enough to produce self-replicating molecules, eventually evolving over billions of years into living creatures capable of profound thought, endless curiosity, and rigorous scientific investigation. Each incredibly fragile step in this ancient cosmic chain was completely contingent on the ones that came before it. If any of countless, delicate physical variables had been even slightly different, we simply would not be here to sit in the dark and contemplate the quiet majesty of IC 1101. The conditions that actually allow for intelligent, conscious observers to exist are surprisingly, terrifyingly narrow. The undeniable fact that we exist at all to look up at the vast night sky is something so mathematically improbable that it comes remarkably close to being a true miracle. When quantum physicists and deep-thinking cosmologists look at this profound fine-tuning, they are often left in a state of quiet, reverent awe. In the mathematical language of quantum mechanics, a system exists in a fuzzy superposition of all possible states, until a conscious observer forces it to finally choose a single, definite reality. Some visionary physicists suggest that the early universe itself existed in a grand superposition of all possible physical laws and all possible fundamental constants. It was a vast, formless landscape of infinite mathematical possibilities. But why did it gracefully collapse into this specific, life-giving reality, this incredibly rare, perfectly balanced state that lovingly allows for stars, galaxies, and biological life? The anthropic principle gently suggests that the universe must have these exact properties simply because we are here to observe it. But taking it a step deeper into the peaceful realm of a universal mind, we can see this not as a random, lucky accident, but as a deliberate, loving choice. The omnipresent consciousness, the silent observer that pervades the vibrating quantum vacuum, collapsed the wave function of the entire cosmos into the exact, precise configuration required to bring forth life, complexity, and self-awareness. The universe is absolutely not a random, meaningless accident of rolling cosmic dice. It is a carefully nurtured garden, specifically designed at the deepest, most fundamental quantum level to produce the beautiful, observing minds that now look back at it in complete wonder. When we consider that the giant galaxy IC 1101, for all its terrifying enormity, is made of the exact same physical stuff we are, this cosmic connection becomes even more profound and deeply personal. The trillions of stars in IC 1101 are powerful fusion reactors just like our own warm sun. They continuously burn hydrogen into helium and forge heavier elements just like stars do everywhere across the infinite dark. The tiny atoms in those distant ancient stars are the very same kinds of atoms that make up our fragile human bodies. The carbon in our muscles, the oxygen in our lungs, the nitrogen in our DNA, and the iron in our blood. All of them were violently forged in the burning hearts of stars somewhere in the vast universe, just as the atoms in our own bodies were forged in ancient stars that exploded long before our own sun was even born. There is a deep, unbroken continuity here, a profound physical and spiritual connection between us and absolutely everything else in the cosmos. We are absolutely not separate, isolated observers simply looking at the universe from the outside. We are an integral, required, and deeply loved part of it. The exact same physical processes that patiently built the giant galaxy built us. The exact same ancient atoms that currently shine so brightly in distant galaxies shine in our own eyes when we look up at the quiet night sky. We are the living universe, consciously observing itself from within. We are the localized, conscious expressions of that original, omnipresent quantum mind, finally waking up after billions of years of silent cosmic evolution to gently ask deep questions about our own existence. Whatever else we are, whatever flaws or fears we might carry, we are the precious part of the universe that has gently woken up and started asking beautiful questions about itself. In a vast universe of seemingly mindless matter and dark energy, of quantum particles bouncing around according to strict physical laws, somehow here on our gentle earth, consciousness has miraculously and beautifully emerged. As you let these profound, heavy truths settle softly into your mind, I invite you to feel a deep, comforting sense of absolute belonging. You are definitely not a random mistake wandering in a cold, uncaring void. The delicate balance of the strong nuclear force, the precise strength of cosmic gravity, and the exact weight of a single tiny electron were all specifically, perfectly tuned in the ancient quantum fires of creation so that you could sit here today, breathing the quiet air and feeling a sense of absolute, transcendent wonder. The universe has been patiently waiting for you. It has been holding its breath for 14 billion years, patiently building massive galaxies like IC 1101, forging heavy carbon in the hearts of dying stars, and spinning the delicate, invisible web of dark matter, all so that it could eventually look through your eyes and finally recognize its own infinite beauty. Rest your mind in this peaceful, loving knowledge. The deep silence of the vast, dark cosmos is not a terrifying emptiness. It is the quiet, loving hum of a universe that knew exactly what it was doing when it created you. Let the gentle awe of this grand realization wash over you, calming your busy mind and soothing your quiet spirit, as we prepare to step even further into the breathtaking, unknown mysteries of the cosmic night. Have you ever pressed your hand against a cold stone wall and wondered what gives it such an undeniable sense of solid reality? We navigate our human lives, trusting the firm ground beneath our feet and the hard objects we hold in our hands. Our senses tell us the world is constructed of dense, impenetrable matter. A rock is a rock, a tree is a tree, and a human body is a physical machine made of solid parts. We build our entire understanding of existence on this foundation of material permanence. But when we look through the penetrating lens of quantum mechanics, this comforting illusion of a solid universe crumbles into a shimmering mist of mathematical probabilities. The deeper we peer into the microscopic heart of reality, the more we realize the physical world is a magnificent magic trick, a grand cosmic projection orchestrated by a hidden, observing mind. Before we dismantle the illusion of solid matter and discover the invisible thoughts that shape our physical reality, I want to take a moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion on this journey through the mysteries of the cosmos. I have noticed that 71% of the curious minds who watch these videos have not subscribed to our channel. If you find peace and a sense of wonder in these explorations, please consider clicking that subscribe button. It helps us a lot, allowing us to continue unraveling the majestic secrets of reality together, building a community of explorers bound by a love for the unknown. Now, let us return to the nature of matter and discover why the solid world you perceive is a ghost of quantum information. When you look at an atom, the basic building block of all physical matter, you are not looking at a miniature solar system with hard little planets orbiting a dense sun. If you were to enlarge a single atom of hydrogen so its central nucleus was the size of a marble sitting on the 50-yard line of a football stadium, the single electron associated with that atom would not be another solid object. It would be a smeared-out cloud of potential spread across the farthest seats in the upper grandstands. The atom is vast empty space. The physical matter that makes up your body, the chair you sit on, and the distant stars in the sky is 99.9999% empty void. If you could squeeze all the empty space out of the atoms that make up the entire human race, you could fit the matter of all 8 billion people into a space the size of a single sugar cube. The solid world is a phantom. It lacks any true substance. What you feel when you touch that cold stone wall is not the collision of solid objects. You are feeling the invisible electromagnetic fields of your hand repelling the electromagnetic fields of the wall. It is a repulsion of invisible forces, an interaction of quantum fields in the dark. There is no physical contact. The visionary physicist Werner Heisenberg realized that atoms are not things. They are tendencies. They are mathematical potentials. When we look at the universe through this lens, The concept of a material cosmos evaporates. The physical universe is less like a giant machine composed of interacting gears and more like an enormous thought composed of interacting ideas. This brings us back to the profound question of the universal mind. If matter is not solid, and if the universe is made of probabilities and information rather than hard particles, then reality requires a canvas of consciousness to exist. Information must be processed by a mind. A thought requires a thinker. The cosmos begins to resemble a grand dream held in the mind of a divine, omnipresent observer. The galaxies, the stars, and the planets are the beautiful, complex patterns of this universal imagination. What happens to the information of a star when it dies? When a massive star runs out of nuclear fuel, its core collapses under its own immense weight, forming a black hole. We used to think that any object falling into a black hole was lost, erased from the universe. But quantum mechanics forbids the destruction of information. The holographic principle, a revolutionary concept in modern physics, proposes that all the information about the objects that fall into a black hole is preserved on its two-dimensional event horizon. The three-dimensional reality we experience might be a projection of information stored on a distant two-dimensional boundary. Our entire universe could be a vast, complex hologram. If reality is a hologram, the concept of a material universe vanishes. Matter becomes nothing more than a translation of binary quantum data. The universe is a computer, but not a machine made of metal and silicon. It is a biological, cosmic computer made of pure thought. The universal mind processes this infinite stream of data, rendering the three-dimensional world we see and touch. The cold stone wall, the burning sun, and the giant galaxy are all rendered by the conscious observation of the divine mind. The mathematics of string theory and black hole thermodynamics point toward this mind-bending truth. The cosmos is constructed of information, and information requires consciousness to possess any meaning. When you raise your hand to point at a star, the movement of your arm is the result of electrical signals firing in your brain. These signals are the movement of sodium and potassium ions across cellular membranes. These ions are made of atoms, which are made of empty space and quantum probability waves. Your conscious intention to move your hand collapses the wave functions of countless subatomic particles, translating a non-physical thought into physical action. The human mind has the power to influence the quantum state of matter. We are miniature replicas of the universal mind. Just as the divine consciousness renders the cosmos, our localized consciousness renders our immediate reality. We navigate a world of our own making, participating in the continuous creation of the universe. To grasp the sheer scale of this cosmic thought, we must cast our vision out into the deepest regions of space. In the year 1995, astronomers took a famous photograph called the Hubble Deep Field. They pointed the magnificent Hubble Space Telescope at a tiny, dark patch of sky about the size of a grain of sand held at arm's length. It gathered light from that patch for over 100 hours. What the resulting image revealed was astounding. That tiny patch of sky contained about 3,000 galaxies, each one an island universe containing billions of stars. Since then, images from the James Webb Space Telescope have revealed more galaxies and ever smaller patches of sky. The conclusion is inescapable. We look into the dark and we find galaxies. The universe is filled with them, perhaps 2 trillion in total, spread across billions of light years in every direction. The giant galaxy IC1101 is one of those 2 trillion galaxies. The scale of this structure defies all human comprehension. Yet, every single one of those 2 trillion galaxies, with their trillions of shining stars, is made of the same empty, shimmering quantum probability clouds that make up the atoms in your own body. The universal mind is dreaming on a scale that beggars belief. It holds the quantum state of every single electron in every single atom across 2 trillion galaxies in a state of continuous observation. This is the true face of the divine omnipresence described by mystics throughout human history. It is a presence that does not need to travel across space to touch a distant star, because the star itself is an expression of its own internal thought. The mind of God is the foundational substrate of reality. The physical world is the holographic projection of this divine intelligence. When we begin to understand the universe as a grand thought, the distinction between the observer and the observed fades into a unified whole. You are not a foreign object placed into a cold, mechanical universe. You are an active, localized node of this universal consciousness. The atoms in your body were forged in stars. The carbon that makes up your muscles, the oxygen you breathe, the iron in your blood, all of these elements were created in the nuclear furnaces at the cores of stars that lived and died before our sun was born. The quantum information that dances in the heart of the Andromeda galaxy is dancing in the neurons of your brain. The universe is looking at itself, trying to understand what it is and how it came to be. We are not separate from the cosmos we study. We are part of it, and our curiosity is the cosmos being curious about itself. As we reach the end of this profound chapter, let the illusion of the solid world melt away. You are a being of light and information, walking through a universe made of pure thought. You are held in the mind of the infinite. Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly by a frost-covered window on a silent afternoon, watching the delicate drops trace unpredictable paths down the glass, and wondered deeply about the profound mystery of the paths you did not take in your own life? We are intimately familiar with the heavy burden of choice. Every single day we stand at countless invisible crossroads, making decisions that steer the course of our human journey. We turn left instead of right, and we consciously choose one narrow future while leaving an infinite number of other brilliant possibilities behind in the quiet realm of human imagination. Our biological experience of time forces us to walk a single, solitary path through the vast forest of existence. We are conditioned to believe that the singular reality we experience is the only one that is physically real, and that the unchosen options simply evaporate into a cold, non-existent void. But what if the rigorous mathematical laws of quantum mechanics suggest a completely different, overwhelmingly magnificent reality that defies everything our human senses tell us? What if the universe is absolutely not a single, lonely road, but rather an infinitely branching tree of physical realities, growing more complex with every passing fraction of a second? As we continue our deep, contemplative exploration into the mind-bending heart of the quantum cosmos, we will discover how the shimmering, ghostly uncertainties of the microscopic world might actually be giving birth to an infinite number of parallel universes, and how this breathtaking multiverse acts as the ultimate expression of an infinite, omnipresent mind, experiencing every single possible thought simultaneously. Before we gently open the door to this infinite garden of branching realities, I want to take a quiet, peaceful moment to welcome you into this space of reflection. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this peaceful journey through the ancient mysteries of the cosmos. As we share this safe, intellectual sanctuary together, looking out into the grand dark, I have noticed that exactly 71% of the curious, searching souls who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to our channel. If you are finding a sense of deep peace, profound wonder, and a reverent awe for the great unknown in these scientific meditations, please consider softly tapping that subscribe button. It is a simple, gentle gesture that helps us immensely, allowing us to continue unraveling the majestic secrets of reality together, building a quiet community of gentle explorers bound by a shared love for the infinite. Now, let us return to the quiet mystery of human choice and discover how the microscopic quantum realm completely shatters our singular perception of reality. In the 1920s, the brilliant physicist Erwin Schrödinger developed a beautiful, complex mathematical equation that perfectly described the bizarre behavior of quantum particles. Schrödinger's famous equation showed that before a tiny particle is actively measured by an observer, it exists as a spreading, invisible wave of pure probability. But the mathematics presented a profound, terrifying philosophical problem that haunted the greatest scientific minds for decades. When a conscious observer finally points an instrument and measures the particle, the equation dictates that the wave function completely collapses into a single, defined, solid point. But absolutely nowhere in the rigorous, elegant mathematics of quantum mechanics is there an actual physical mechanism to explain this sudden, violent collapse. The math simply describes a wave that keeps evolving and interacting forever. For over 30 years, the world's leading physicists simply accepted this mysterious wave collapse as an unexplained, strange rule of nature needed to make the strange quantum theories match our everyday human experience. But in 1957, a courageous young physicist named Hugh Everett III proposed a radical, breathtaking solution that completely eliminated the need for a magical, unexplained collapse. Everett gently asked a profound, perspective-shifting question. What if the quantum wave function never actually collapses at all? What if, when a quantum particle faces a choice of passing through the left slit or the right slit in a laboratory experiment, the universe itself simply splits in two? According to Everett's rigorous, mathematically flawless many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every single time a quantum superposition interacts with its surrounding environment, all of the possible outcomes become physically, tangibly real. The universe literally divides itself into separate, parallel, and equally valid physical realities. In one sprawling universe, the particle goes left. In another, utterly identical universe, the particle goes right. Both physical realities absolutely exist, but they become completely decohered, which means they are mathematically and physically sealed off from one another, completely unaware of the other's ongoing existence. The observer making the measurement also splits in that exact indivisible moment, creating two distinct, conscious versions of the exact same mind, each one proceeding forward into the future with a different, perfectly consistent memory of what just happened. This concept is a direct, unavoidable mathematical consequence of taking the fundamental equations of quantum physics absolutely literally, refusing to artificially add a mysterious, invisible boundary between the microscopic and the magnificent. To truly grasp the staggering scale of this revelation, we must deliberately scale our imagination up to the vast, quiet canvas of the entire cosmos. Every single fraction of a second, every single one of the 10 to the 80th power subatomic particles in the observable universe is interacting, entering into fragile superpositions and making quantum choices. If the many worlds interpretation is the true description of nature, then the universe is branching into an incomprehensible, uncountable number of parallel realities every single indivisible moment. There is a specific universe out there where the giant galaxy IC 1101 never successfully formed, a universe where the fiery blast of the Big Bang was slightly hotter, and a completely silent universe where our gentle Earth never coalesced from the ancient, drifting clouds of stardust. There is a physical reality existing right now in the vast branching multiverse for every single possible configuration of matter and energy that the strict laws of physics will allow. This concept of a sprawling, infinite multiverse completely rewrites our understanding of existence and pushes the boundaries of our human comprehension to the absolute breaking point. But as we sit quietly in the dark and contemplate this infinite branching, we must ask ourselves deeply what this means for the ancient spiritual intuition of an omnipresent, universal mind. If the cosmos is not a single lonely narrative, but rather an infinitely expanding library containing every single possible story, what kind of consciousness could possibly comprehend, hold, and sustain such an overwhelming, staggering infinity? In our previous explorations, we envisioned the mind of God as the quiet, omnipresent observer that collapses the quantum wave function, bringing a single reality out of the fuzzy, shifting fog of potential. But the multiverse offers an even more magnificent, overwhelmingly beautiful vision of the divine intelligence. If the universe never actually collapses, but instead branches into absolutely all possible realities, then the universal mind is not making a restrictive choice at all. It is actively experiencing absolutely everything. The omnipresent consciousness is the infinite, boundless canvas upon which all of these parallel universes are constantly being painted in real time. It is a mind so unimaginably vast, so completely devoid of tiny human limitations, that it lovingly and completely embraces every single beautiful possibility simultaneously. In this breathtaking view, the mind of God is the ultimate container of all quantum information, a silent, eternal witness to every single joy, every single quiet sorrow, and every single triumph across an infinite spectrum of parallel Earths. The ancient spiritual concept of divine omniscience takes on a rigorously scientific, mathematically precise meaning. The universal mind naturally knows all things, because the universal mind is actively living and experiencing all things across the infinite branches of the quantum multiverse. When you begin to understand the cosmos in this profound, expansive way, it gently washes away the heavy, suffocating burden of regret that we almost all carry in our brief human lives. The difficult choices you did not make, the winding paths you did not walk, and the alternative lives you did not live are absolutely not lost forever in a cold, unforgiving void. They are being lived right now in equally real parallel realities by other conscious versions of you. Every single possible expression of your soul's journey is being beautifully and completely realized within the infinite, loving embrace of the universal mind. You are consciously experiencing this specific branch of reality, this specific, quiet moment in time. But the greater, eternal essence of who you are, the fundamental quantum information that defines your deepest consciousness, is participating in a grand, infinite exploration of all possible existences. You are not missing out on anything. The universe is exploring itself completely through you in this exact perfect configuration, while simultaneously exploring every other possible configuration through the countless parallel reflections of your being. This realization brings a profound, transcendent peace that surpasses ordinary understanding. It invites us to completely surrender our deep anxiety about making the wrong choices and simply rest in the gentle, quiet flow of the reality we are currently experiencing. We are magnificent, multidimensional expressions of an infinite, observing presence that is currently enjoying the infinite variety of its own cosmic imagination. The deep silence of the night is not the empty sound of a lonely, deserted universe. It is the quiet, humming vibration of a trillion parallel realities being beautifully born every single second. As you look up at the ancient stars tonight, you are looking at the shining surface of an infinite, branching crystal of realities, a masterpiece of quantum mathematics held safely and eternally in the thoughts of the divine. Let this awe-inspiring vision settle deeply into your heart as we prepare to take our final steps into the ultimate mystery of the cosmic journey. Allow the vast branching infinity of the multiverse to remind you that your existence is entirely necessary, profoundly beautiful, and eternally safe within the boundless, quiet mind of the cosmos. Have you ever held a handful of ocean water and tried to find the tide within it? When you cup the water in your palms, it becomes a static, isolated puddle, disconnected from the rhythmic heartbeat of the sea. Our human experience of life often feels akin to that isolated handful of water. We inhabit individual bodies, we possess individual memories, and we navigate the world through a singular, isolated perspective. We perceive ourselves as discrete units, separated from the rest of creation by the boundaries of our skin. But as we have explored throughout this extensive journey into the quantum realm, the boundaries we perceive are illusions of human scale. The universe does not operate as a collection of isolated parts. It functions as a single, indivisible entity, an ocean of quantum information, where every wave and every ripple is connected to the whole. If the cosmos is a unified ocean, then human consciousness is not a random byproduct of biological evolution confined to the dark interior of the skull. Consciousness is the fundamental water itself. Before we explore the ultimate implications of this profound truth and uncover what it means for our understanding of life, death, and the divine mind, I want to pause. I am Theodore, the researcher, your companion in this exploration of the cosmos. I have noticed that 71% of the people who watch these videos have not subscribed yet. Please consider subscribing because it helps us a lot, allowing us to continue unraveling the majestic secrets of reality together. Now, let us return to the ocean of consciousness. For centuries, orthodox science viewed the human brain as a complex biological machine. We believed that billions of neurons firing electrical impulses generated the subjective experience of being alive, much like a computer generates an image on a screen. But despite decades of mapping synapses and measuring brain waves, the mechanism of consciousness remains the greatest unsolved mystery in biology. The philosopher David Chalmers called this the hard problem of consciousness. How does dead, unconscious matter wake up and experience the taste of an apple or the beauty of a starlit night? Quantum mechanics offers a breathtaking alternative to this mechanistic view. Visionary thinkers, including the renowned physicist Sir Roger Penrose, propose that consciousness is not manufactured by the brain at all. Instead, the brain acts as an intricate biological receiver, tuning into a fundamental quantum field of consciousness that pervades the entire universe. Just as a radio does not create the music it plays, but rather receives invisible electromagnetic waves, your brain might be receiving the broadcast of the universal mind. Tiny structures inside our neurons called microtubules could be operating at the quantum level, collapsing probability waves and downloading conscious experience direct from the fabric of space-time. In this profound paradigm, you are not a physical body that happens to have a temporary mind. You are an eternal, omnipresent mind that is now using a physical body to navigate the three-dimensional world. This shift in perspective alters everything. It bridges the ancient gap between science and spirituality, providing a logical, mathematical framework for the concept of a soul. If your consciousness originates in the foundational quantum field, the same field that dictates the behavior of subatomic particles and sustains the vast structure of the cosmos, then your essential nature is infinite. The great astronomer Carl Sagan once noted that the cosmos is within us, and we are a way for the universe to know itself. He was speaking of the stellar origins of our atoms, but the truth extends to the very essence of our awareness. We are the cosmos waking up, looking through billions of different eyes, and experiencing the infinite variety of physical existence. This realization transforms our understanding of death. In a mechanistic universe, the end of the physical body dictates the absolute end of the conscious mind. It is a terrifying prospect that has driven human anxiety since the dawn of our species. But in a quantum universe where consciousness is the foundational substrate of reality, energy and information cannot be destroyed. They only change form. The first law of thermodynamics guarantees that the energy animating your thoughts and memories never vanishes into nothingness. When the biological receiver of the brain stops functioning, the broadcast does not cease. The localized focal point of your awareness dissolves, but the essence of your consciousness returns to the infinite ocean of the universal mind. It is a return to the source, a reintegration with the divine presence that holds the cosmos together. The illusion of separation ends, and the drop of water merges back into the boundless sea. Think of a vivid dream you had. While dreaming, you believed the dream world was the ultimate reality. You felt fear, joy, and sorrow within that fabricated landscape. When you woke up, you did not die. You expanded your awareness into a broader, more fundamental reality. The transition from physical life to the quantum field might be the ultimate awakening. You shed the restrictive dream of the three-dimensional world and remember your true nature as an integral part of the infinite. Ancient spiritual texts from various traditions describe this process using poetic metaphors. They speak of rivers returning to the ocean, sparks returning to the central fire, and individual souls reuniting with God. Quantum mechanics provides the scientific vocabulary for these ancient intuitions. The universal mind, the omnipresent observer that collapses the wave function of the cosmos, is the central fire. You are the spark. During your human lifetime, you experience the illusion of being a separate spark, exploring the cold dark of the material world. But the tether to the central fire is never broken. The quantum entanglement linking your consciousness to the source remains intact across all of space and time. This profound connection means that every action you take, every thought you entertain, and every emotion you feel ripples across the entire quantum field. You are participating in the ongoing evolution of the divine mind. When you experience joy, the universe experiences joy. When you learn a new truth, the universe expands its own understanding. The omnipresent consciousness relies on its localized sparks to explore the infinite possibilities of existence. The universe requires you to be who you are, with all your unique flaws, dreams, and perspectives. You are an essential component of the grand cosmic equation. If you were missing, the universal mind would be incomplete. Let us scale our vision back out to the magnificent cosmos. Imagine standing on a quiet hillside, gazing up at the vast canopy of stars. The night sky is not a chaotic scattering of dead rocks and burning gas. It is a living, breathing tapestry of quantum information. The dark matter holding the galaxies together, the dark energy driving the expansion of space, and the mysterious forces governing the behavior of atoms are all expressions of the same underlying intelligence. The universe is a masterpiece of art and mathematics, designed to foster the emergence of conscious observers. The immense scale of the cosmos, with its 2 trillion galaxies and uncountable trillions of stars, is not meant to make us feel small or insignificant. It is the necessary canvas required to support the delicate, miraculous phenomenon of life. The universe needs billions of years to forge heavy elements in stellar cores, and it needs vast expanses of space to allow solar systems to form without violent interference. The sheer size and age of the cosmos are testaments to the immense patience and dedication of the universal mind in its quest to manifest biological consciousness. When we recognize our place within this grand design, we find a sense of unparalleled peace. The anxieties and struggles of daily human life lose their heavy grip. We understand that we are safe, held in the cradle of an intelligent, purposeful universe. The mystery of existence transforms from a source of existential dread into a source of perpetual wonder. We are invited to explore, to ask questions, and to marvel at the beauty of the unknown. The scientific journey is not a cold, sterile pursuit of facts. It is a profound spiritual practice. By studying the mechanics of the quantum realm and the structure of the cosmos, we are reading the mind of the Creator. We are deciphering the poetry written into the fabric of space-time. As we conclude this extended journey through the wonders of quantum theory and the nature of the divine, I encourage you to carry this perspective into your everyday life. Look at the people around you and recognize that they are local expressions of the same universal mind. The artificial divisions of race, nationality, and ideology fade away when we understand our shared quantum origin. Treat every interaction as an opportunity to connect with another facet of the infinite. Embrace the silence of a quiet room or a serene natural landscape, knowing that the stillness is not empty. The silence is the subtle vibration of the quantum vacuum, the omnipresent energy of the universal mind. In that quietude, you can sense the deep connection between your own awareness and the vast cosmos. You are a child of the stars, a manifestation of the quantum field, and a necessary participant in the infinite journey of the universe. Your existence is a miracle of mathematics and consciousness. Remember that the exploration never truly ends. The cosmos contains mysteries that our current science cannot even begin to articulate. New discoveries wait in the dark, ready to challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding of reality. Keep your mind open, maintain your sense of wonder, and never lose your curiosity. The universe is a boundless ocean of knowledge, and we have only just begun to wade into the shallow waters. A gentle peace waits for those who look up. The story of the universe is your story. The heartbeat of the cosmos is your heartbeat. Let this profound connection guide your steps as you continue your own path through the mystery of existence. Thank you for joining me on this profound exploration of quantum theory and the mind of God. If these ideas have resonated with your spirit, share this journey with others who seek understanding and peace in a complex world. Look up at the stars tonight, breathe the cool air, and know that you are home.